Today on Everyday Ordinary, I'm going to share a clip with you from a phenomenal conversation that I did not expect with the tax preparer, Mr. Antoine Anderson. This is something that you do not want to miss. Please continue watching. Now, as time went on, technology has taken over and in a way that has helped a lot of us out. And also, technology also creates issues at the same time.
Yes, it does.
So with this next one is what do you feel are the pros and cons to managing your taxes on your own versus going to an accountant? They have all kinds of programs. Probably the most popular one out here is TurboTax. And I'm sure certain times it's very beneficial and other times it's not. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let's talk about the pros and cons of that.
Sure. There's a lot of different programs. TurboTax, Tax Cut, 1040.com, free tax, free1040.com or something. There's a lot of different softwares and online resources that you can go to prepare your taxes. I always like to encourage young, starting off new tax persons that's going to need their taxes prepared to do it on their own or try and then seek a professional before they file to make sure it's accurate.
Okay.
A lot of TurboTax asks you a gazillion questions to make sure that those tax returns are correct. And they also go through a system check to make sure that the tax return is correct. So I always like to say, start with those softwares to learn, and always go up to a certain level. If you have just a W-2, one, single, or married, no dependents, no home, no business, no stocks, anything like that, look at using a TurboTax or one of the resources to prepare your taxes. And then still, if you still feel uncomfortable, call a tax preparer and say, hey, look, these are some of the questions. Now, a lot of tax preparers will say the downside, well, I don't want to tell you anything because I could have prepared your tax return as well.
Yeah.
But if you have one or two questions, a good tax preparer answer those one or two questions and move on, because they never know what may happen later on.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. Later on, you may want to buy a house. So now you're going to say, I need to have a house. I may want to own a business. Who's the first person you're going to think about? That tax preparer that took your call and answered that one or two questions.
True.
And then they're going to say, hey, now I have a new client.
Yeah.
And that is the way you want to look at that. You want to have a list of questions. You don't want to go from the top of your head. Have some specific questions for that tax preparer. Don't waste their time. Get them in, get them out, and go ahead. But if you are just having a one W-2, just a single, or you have maybe one or two or three dependents, try and do that tax return on your own, because knowledge is power. And
Yeah.
if you understand the tax guy, you can understand what that preparer or anyone else is talking about. The worst thing in the world is someone to say, how many exemptions did you claim, or how many dependents do you have? I don't know what that means. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
No, knowledge is power.
I totally agree. And for me, never had to deal with that because it's always been this guy. And I have absolutely no regrets. It's a certain sense of safety and comfort and confidence. So for those, and then also too, I'll say that stuff kind of came along and I was aware of after our relationship began too. So for a lot of other people, it's an option right now, and I would definitely take his advice, because knowledge is power. You can have this information and you can talk to an accountant, and they might say some things that doesn't line up that you would have learned, but you would know that if you didn't take the time to learn yourself.
And also, I like to also add, you're totally right that you didn't have to do that come along. But through your business and through your growth, I'm always trying to lend a ear to let that individual or business learn something. The quarterly tax filing deadline dates. You know that you have to file estimated taxes. You know about business structure. All of that came from the development of us talking and conversating. And those are the things that you want to look at with those tax preparers and look at. You're not going to learn that on a TurboTax.
Right.
You're not going to learn that in a tax filing software. So when you're ready to start aspiring and growing in your life, in your business life, in your home, in your personal life, then that's when you want to definitely start looking for an accountant or tax preparer and maybe stop doing it on your own.
Man, once again, nailed it. I don't really have nothing else to say. I think he did a great job, as I anticipated, with that question. And again, once again, if there is any questions that you might have that you might want to discuss that is exclusive to this particular thing, please leave it in the comments below and let's have a discussion about it. Hopefully we can create some answers, or if not that, point you in the right direction.